Here.
Exactly.
Leaders. I'm the latest.
You're the latest.
Right, can you just call them into order and then I'll.
Call this meeting to order, meeting of the Finance Committee, no, the Caucus. Whatever we are, the Caucus, 7:08 on November the 2nd. Noted as the birthday of the author Stephen Crane.
I just have a few updates. I think the majority of you were at the last public safety meeting, but I highly recommend listening to that meeting if you haven't. There's a good conversation about, with Chris Ray, Chief Ray from KFD and Mayor Noble about the ambulances. And I think that started probably like 6:45. And then Steve Knox gave an hour-long presentation from 7:30 to 8:30. So very informative. If you want to tune in, I think it would be a benefit. I just got the mayor's 3 choices for the parking task force, so I'll circle back around for the last 3 from you, and then we'll have that hopefully sorted out, so stay tuned. We're not doing a council award this month, we'll start again in December. Just wasn't in the cards for this time, so Steve will take December, and then we'll go to find January. And then the last thing, which is something that is new, the clerk's office has requested if we can be helpful when we do our in memory of at the end of the meeting, if you could forward them an obituary, that would be really, either bring a copy and just give to Lisa or Kwame, or you could just email it if you're like me.
Where do you want that to go to?
The clerk's office.
Okay. Nobody in particular?
I think Kwame is gonna be the one that put the letters together that we send out, but if you send it to Elisa, I'm sure we're all close and get along, so I think it'd be fine, but Kwame is the one who's gonna take charge of that, so that's all I have. It's gonna be a busy month, just make sure you're scheduled, and there's a couple meetings that are gonna be in here, but most of them will be in the conference room too. Public safety is the 21st, which is different, Tuesday, and obviously, our council meeting is on Monday. And then lots of finance and audit meetings.
So we like 2 weeks where we have almost every month.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just so little.
Right.
And I think that's everything. No, I already talked about that. And training.
Any other updates from any committees or boards? All right then, we can start with the legislation here, resolution 160. Rita?
We're back to this. This was the apprenticeship, where we decided to remove the trade specific language. So this is the one that the mayor vetoed. And so I suppose we should talk about what we're going to do with this. I'm fine with what the council voted on as far as taking out the trade specific language. I think it's fair. And I think that, it doesn't, I don't think it's a hindrance to either side if we keep it the way. So I'm in favor of leaving it the way that we voted on. So I suppose I just need everyone else's thoughts. So what do you think?
Leaving it there, you mean veto, override.
Overriding, yes.
I think, didn't we have some legal questions or you have?
I wrote a note to Barbara earlier today. I should have done it sooner, but I've been distracted. And I asked a couple legal questions. And particularly, well, 2 of them in particular come to mind. One is,
If it's legal questions, we have to go into attorney-client session. So you have those questions? All right, we're going into legal, not attorney, what's it called? I'm very tired.
Executive session.
executive session to discuss the
No, it's not executive session, we're going into attorney-client session. So we'll ask the non-council members to leave, and we're gonna mute and turn off video.
But we still, no, but we have to take action on the, you know, we have to.
Right.
Or remember, the issues,
Or let it drop.
Or we can let it, or we can let it ride.
but the issues we've been discussing were not about arbitrariness per se. Right. The issues we were discussing is what the effect on local companies and whether or not this is the way, whether the 3-5 rule is the best way to encourage apprenticeship, employment, and apprenticeship programs. And the question, so part of why we're talking about overriding the veto is because we feel like looking at other municipalities, looking at other laws, looking at other ways people approach this, that there are really some already good ways out there of supporting apprenticeship programs that do not include this kind of the consequences that we've seen from the current rule that we're talking about overriding the veto on. Carl.
I just want to say, I could move the conversation along, so I'm not sure we need to have an extended conversation about it. I am glad that my travel plans are postponed, that I will be here, because I intend to go to override.
Okay.
So, I have a question.
Bring us in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Since this is the first veto that, since being on the council for myself, what happens if we don't override it? Like, we can't bring it, we can't just.
Technically.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
If we don't override the veto,
Yeah.
So if we support the veto, then the 3-5 rule stays as it is. But we could continue on and go down the road of looking for some other ways of doing it. The problem is it would leave intact the problems that we've seen coming from it.
and if to kind of understand your question a little bit more, Rennie's communication that he sent to me is different. It's not the same thing as we had sent. I don't know if that was one of the issues that you were thinking.
Right, so the
It's, yeah.
the
it's
communication
different.
I sent was embodying the things that we've seen. I don't know what other people have done research, but so Carl and Bob and I have met, talked about these issues. Sarah has done research, which she shared with the council. And so we've seen how other municipalities do this. We've talked to a number of people now. We've talked to other people in unions and so forth. So, you know, that's the idea, is for us to really think about what is it we really want? What do we think is the best way to support apprenticeship programs, the hiring of apprentices, and the good training, right? So that's what we would be talking about, laws and rules, trying to come up with something. Hopefully we can do that somewhat quickly because we've got a fair amount of information now. Because we don't want this lingering.
I guess my question here would be, we're going to try and move this along as quickly as possible, as you just said. We're going to continue negotiating with the two sides, right?
Yep.
That's what I understand. So I'm not quite sure what the benefit is of striking that section. How is that a benefit? I'm not
Because
sure.
what we've seen is that a number of local open shop businesses are saying that they are barred from, in essence, barred from being able to bid on city projects, on city contracts, because that rule is so stringent in terms of the number of people that it requires to fulfill the three graduates in each of the past 5 years, that they can't meet it. And because they can't meet it, they then can't actually bid on projects. So that was, remember, the quick version of that is Val Dwyer collected information that she suggests shows that we have spent extra money because the companies that were actually the lower bidders could not meet the 3-5 rule. And because of that, they were ruled out, which means we're spending more money for our contracts than we would if we had the more open bidding process with the 3-5 rule taken out.
It cost $2 million more, over $2 million we spent.
But that was prior to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're out. I forgot the word. The other thing is that I would add to this is that there are sort of unintended consequences to it. For instance, it's quite clear that a lot of the city, the businesses and contractors that the city has relied on as friends of the city to help out on are not going to become available if the city gives them the message that they are not wanted on city police effectively. So there are potentially really quite severe consequences when their sewer lines break or there is some emergency that needs attention immediately and they have to call on someone local and the locals are going to say, you turned your back on us, we're turning our back on you. And that's pretty much written at this point.
I was just playing the devil's advocate here. How do I want to phrase this? So is time this much of the essence that we can't leave that in there and negotiate, as everybody seems to think we're going to be moving along really at a pretty quick rate? I hope. I mean, that's really, and I've been saying this since we started this. My wish here is to have people at the table get up and leave and say, okay, we can live with this. Maybe it's not the best, but we can live with it. We can live with it. I think something like this, you know, we might be bringing somebody to the table that's maybe not thrilled with it. I mean, I'm still not really seeing the point of getting rid of this when we're talking about a pretty short time frame.
Well, but we've been talking about this one piece since I think June or July, so it's not like this has been, you know, we made the decision in October, and we're only here because it was vetoed. And I don't know if I would rely on, I appreciate the work that the members have been doing, you know, to prep for laws and rules, but I can't imagine that it's going to be ready to go out of laws and rules if we're bringing in people and discussing. So I don't think it's going to be quick. I mean, I imagine that it may take a couple meetings to discuss. Rennie made a face. I don't know if that was an agreement or a, what do you mean? But it's a big issue, and we promised that we would listen to everybody, and that will take some time. So, I mean, the first piece, what we're talking about, Resolution 160, I mean, this we've been talking about, I think, since June. And so there's nothing about this that we're rushing in. And then, like I said, I don't foresee it being really quick turnarounds because this is too big for us to say that it's going to be a quick turnaround.
No way to quick turnaround. I'm looking at it, it's too complex. It's going to take months. It's going to be February, March before there's a vote. I won't be part of it, I won't be here, but I can pretty much, I would be astonished if it's finished.
Well, I think that's part of the problem. A lot of this council is not going to be here in February or March. You know, we'll have some new folks on board. So we're making a decision.
No, we're actually countering a decision that the mayor made. We're just saying, no, we don't. We're not making a decision.
Tonight.
We're sitting here.
The decision was already made.
We made a decision. We're just going back.
So we're only here because of the veto.
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as getting
Getting
something to the table
language that-
where everybody can sit down and hopefully come to some kind of agreement.
Right, but since that's not going to be quick, February, March, that's still going to be months that we could correct the unintended consequences that, you know, we talked about in detail
Right,
and listened to from so many people for the past 4 months.
And in the interim, you know, open jobs may be precluded from bidding on projects because we're still trying to decide what we're going to do.
It's the larger message, I think, what we're communicating to the people who did it. We've stated, I'm sorry.
I just want to go back to
Sorry.
the unintended consequence that it's costing the city all this extra money. When just before as Bob raised and I raised that the open shops can still bid on federally funded projects and state funded projects. So that figure is not correct. Because all those jobs that she's basing that number on weren't just city funded work.
The principle is still there. There are jobs they won't be able to bid on. You know, and that just is, I don't think that was not the consequence we were looking for when we passed the resolution. Consequence we were looking for is to ensure a quality apprenticeship program. times. And I don't think, so I think from what we've learned, or from what I've seen, the 3.5 regulation does not help in any substantive way, in any clear, direct way. So I think that there is, we've got a whole series of things we've seen from the legislations. I think too, when Carl's talking about the timeline, that's, final timeline. So we're vote in March on whatever we decide, because I could imagine us talking on the next laws and rules, getting a good sense of what all the options are, making some stabs at what we would like to see for final legislation, go to the different parties, get them to comment on it. That would be the next laws and rules, so that would be in January. Probably come up with hopefully then some final form to discuss then in February. And then that would be the March meeting. So I think, March, that's the timeline I would like to see us work on, trying to get something done by March.
Well, I was just going to ask, because when I was saying that it wasn't going to be a rush ahead, Sarah, you made a face too. Is that what you're thinking too? Like along lines?
I mean, that's that,
With the research
thinking
that you've
probably
done.
February, right.
Oh, all
I
right.
mean, just what you were.
I just wanted to clarify that phase.
Which
was an
since
agreement
government
or-
moves slowly, February and March is actually fairly quick.
Okay, so, I wasn't sure how to interpret the phase, so I appreciate it.
I just want to state that I'm working on research and understanding this. This is it's very complicated. And both sides and many of us have different perspectives on what we should do with, whether we should override the veto or stay with where we're at right now. I'm honestly not completely comfortable in doing anything right now. I have different meetings and interviews with both sides, and I'd like to work that through before I come up with a solid decision in overriding that veto at this point.
We have a few days.
Yeah.
Because,
Well,
not doing
I have-
anything, you have to vote and.
I do have to vote,
And,
and that will happen it's gonna happen, but my last few interviews is tomorrow. So.
But yeah, you do have to vote on Monday.
On Monday, yeah, I'll be prepared to vote on Monday.
No, just to clarify, you can't recuse yourself. or-
No, I'm not trying to do that, but just stating that, if what we're trying to get at this point right now, stable, is that a decision needs to be made. I'm not there because I still have more research. I'd like to get as deep as possible into understanding what the benefits are outside of, just hearing one side. So that's where I'm at. Still, by Monday, I'll have a solid decision.
And I would just say that I did reach out to Ulster County, and you probably saw the email that came around. And, what for me, the concern was really what the threshold is. To me, the $100,000 threshold seems sort of unduly low. I mean, I like what the county did, in terms of saying that that the 3 positions over 5 years is implemented when there's a certain level of contract, and they call it the high value contract. So that's something that I am sort of just leaning towards after having had conversations with our colleagues in Ulster County. So what that means about whether I vote to override or not, I feel like we're all heading in a good direction. The question is, what do we do now in this particular situation? And I'm thinking that right at this moment, I'm thinking that it makes sense to just keep it the way it was before Steve vetoed it, with the complete understanding that we are going to deal with this within the next.
Right, which we have said.
Which we have said we would do, but because I do think that there is some that's, I like what the county has done. Again, they don't have a track record to see how it actually has played out, in real time. But we have some sort of a track record now. We've had a little bit of blowback and concern from local workers, and if it's a few more months, keeping it the way that the council had voted on, even though I wasn't here at the time, keeping it that way for a few more months and then implementing something that is more robust, that deals with the quality of the internship training programs, how they get monitored, all of that. I have visited a facility, a training facility. Of course, it's very impressive. It's incredible. So I know that the union training facilities are excellent. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But then what that means in terms of contracts is something else, in terms of what kinds of internship programs we want to have. So anyway, that's just what I'm thinking.
I'm in favor of keeping,
Key of, is,
not overriding.
Sustaining
Yeah.
the veto. Yeah. Anything else on that?
Well, the question is if the veto is not overruled, does it affect any near-term work?
Yes.
Okay, so there will be a project that comes out in this interim period for which open shops and contractors will not be eligible to bid.
It's also, it's having an effect below those kind of contracts. It's having an effect on the kind of work that the city's been able to do.
So it isn't like nothing's going to happen until we solve this.
Yeah.
And I fully believe we have to come up with a better way of regulating apprenticeships and encouraging it in a way that's fair to everybody, and I think we can get there. I think there's a number of, the county one's an example, the state has ones, there are ones around. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think the timing is going to be a problem. We're going to disadvantage people until we get to resolve this.
The language, the correct language that we all like. Yeah, I do feel like there will be disadvantage to open shops if we don't do something.
And something that you said to me, I think last meeting. So I know it's confusing to the way we're talking about this, but so taking out the 3-5, so then that would be voting to override the veto. We're not disadvantaging anybody. Right? Not overriding the veto and keeping in the 3-5 will disadvantage people, right? And we're just talking about a few months of that, and then we could figure out a better plan. So I hope you don't mind that I stole your words.
No.
Because I really like telling you.
You probably said it better than I did. That's fine.
I think it's just my hand moves.
Carl?
I also think we need to really confront what the 3 and 5 requirement is. And if it's the place of Kingston to be making decisions like that. I see the 3x5 as a kludge that has no purpose. It's our purpose to support good, strong apprenticeship programs. It's not our competence to determine what that requirement is. The state does that and has approved various apprenticeship programs. Where do we come off saying 3x5 is the way we should go? We don't have the knowledge or expertise. And to me, this is simply, if you look at the reality, this is a strategy for cutting shops, because basically it's only union shops that qualify. So I really think we have to take a look at this.
Hold those thoughts for the laws and rules meeting.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I think people just need to sleep on it, and you actually have 3 days to sleep on it instead of our normal one. I mean, not to cut off anybody if they want to talk, but I feel like we're going around in circles at this point, and I think everybody just needs to put in some thought. But the options are, if we override the veto, then it goes back to what we had made the decision to do in October, after several months of discussion. Or we could vote, we do not override the veto, and we go back to what we had before all the conversations with the 3-5. But we are definitely moving forward. It just will be in government pace.
But I also want to say that the number of hours of research and discussion that I've put into this, I very much want to get this done soon. I do not want to keep this hanging around. I've got a big investment in all of that time. So for me personally, I want us to work on getting something right as soon as possible. All right. Where are we? Next item, 169. So let's see, 169 is an internal transfer. This is from the finance. This is to, do you need a copy?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're sorry.
You watching the horse race? Is that what? This committee.
All people who would be watching a horse race, looking at me.
All right, so 169 is about a budget transfer in the civil service office, so it's a $0 financial impact. We okay with that? 170 is an internal transfer in the Department of the Police to cover expenses of vehicle maintenance and medical exams. That is also an internal transfer, so it's $0 impact. 171, this is from
Laws and rules.
Laws and Rules. Rita.
Yeah, this was just, Chief Support Magistrate, Chief Tenty and Sheriff Figueroa came in and presented to us. So this has to do with when, someone is arrested and they have to be arraigned. Sometimes, it may take forever trying to get a judge to arraign a person, so they're just kind of sitting
Public
there.
defender.
Yeah, trying to get a public defender. So what this does is, kind of bring, if someone gets arrested, they can take them to a centralized place, they can get them arraigned, and then they can proceed, rather than just having them sitting around, trying to call a judge 2:00 in the morning to get them in there too.
It was a really interesting conversation. I would if you have,
It was good.
if you have everything tuned into that.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense to me. Yeah, I never even thought about, never even thought about it before, you know?
Right, that you would have to find a judge
Yeah,
and find
And
a
a
public
public
defender.
defender.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so the police end up spending a lot of time looking for people to,
right,
Do
and
the
then the
arraignments, so
arrest
they're not
is
on
just
the
kind of
street.
just sitting there.
Yeah, disadvantages everybody.
Right.
The way
Right.
it was. So it'd be, I
It seems like such a
everybody
smart
watched it.
solution.
Yeah, yeah, it was cool.
all right? Everybody good with that one then?
Yep.
172, recommending approval for adding Department of Public Works charges to the 2024 property tax bills. This is an annual practice we have, so people who have not paid fees and charges that have been levied by Public Works, those get put on the tax bills so that they will get paid. Everybody okay with that? Any questions? Confusions, issues? All right, 173 is the same thing with building and safety charges. These are also going to get added to property tax bills to ensure that they get paid. All right, pretty good with that? Okay, 174 is a resolution requesting the common council to accept the 2022 audited financials as prepared by RBT CPAs. Since they're outside auditing firm, this is just accepting the audit. Are you okay with that?
Is the audit reviewed and discussed in the finance committee? Or
Not
no?
generally.
Not generally, okay.
So
So,
it was
so basically,
It was distributed.
We read it, I mean, I read it.
Yeah, we can discuss it if you want to.
no, I was just curious.
We generally have not discussed.
It's
Okay,
pretty
it's
straightforward.
straightforward, yes,
It's a pretty
okay.
straightforward document.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was just my question, but
Yeah.
And it's something that we do every year, have an outside
of course,
company.
every organization gets audited.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You gotta
I know,
They would let us know if there were problems.
got it, okay.
Right.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, resolution 175, authorizing the sale of a portion of Jervis Street according to the code provision 355-63. Was that laws and rules again?
That was laws and rules. And, you know, it's just, the laws and rules committee, it came out of committee just authorizing the sale, not specifically authorizing it to a person. Just saying that we can,
There's a public hearing.
yes.
Yeah,
Or the
there's
public hearing.
negotiations and public hearing, and it's a very long process. This was our first sale of a street process, and it's been months.
Mhm. Mhm.
Charter work makes us work hard for this one.
All right. Resolution 176, recommending the appointment of David Niles to the Board of Assessment Review.
This is Bob's. Committee.
Yes, yeah, he's been recommended by the assessor, he's serving on the board presently, his term expired, and he's willing to continue. So it seems like an easy thing.
Very easy.
I will be recusing myself as my son-in-law.
Okay.
Oh, all right, thank you for letting me know.
So you can tell us the actual.
Is he really any good?
Hey.
He's
in
willing,
camera.
willing to do it, that's,
Can't do that.
yeah.
So that's pretty straightforward.
All right, and then the last one from Public Safety, ordinance amending an ordinance regarding removing handicap parking on Belvedere Street.
Because the tenant that lived there that required the handicap parking spot no longer there, and the landlord would like it removed so that the new tenant can park there.
Got it.
I feel like it's-
Anything else? Okay, so I gotta say, I've been super confused all the way through this meeting tonight.
Sorry.
I haven't known what day of the week it is. Is it tonight? No, wait, when is it?
Yeah, yeah.
I stared at the calendar and like there is no options for anything, so
Yeah, when
it
I
is what it is, we gotta get it done.
Tonight, I was like, surely we're not,
Thursday
town
meeting.
council.
Yeah,
It's not
Thursday.
yesterday.
Don't go by you. All
All
right, I will consider that meeting adjourned.
So be it.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night.